Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we pick up with 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So this movie was a direct sequel after 28 Years Later, no subtitle. I did reference in the previous movie review I did of the 28 Years Later, the one just before the one we're doing today, that there's 4 movies in this series, and I only have 3 as you can see on this channel. So the movie that I have not watched is the 28 Days Later, the first one of this 4-part movie series. And so what I will do is I will give you some overview as provided by Google, some initial thoughts on the cast, plot development, cinematography, anything that stood out to me, along with some ratings from the other movie review websites. Then I will give you my grade of the film, A to F, A being well done, B being entertaining, C being whatever, D being off-putting, and F being I turned off the video but still decided to make a video reviewing it. And so once I give my rating, you're going to want to shut off the video. If you've not seen it and would like to, there will be spoiler alerts. So 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple was released in 2026 and is rated R. The biggest, most immediate thing that was interesting, we have a different director. The history of the movies, just Googling it, it seemed that these were filmed pretty much at the same time. I've never been part of a movie production before, but it seems like, hey, we're going to go out and film this movie. It's going to be 2 parts, or 2 movies at one film session, and we're going to have different directors. So that was definitely interesting to me, to see the continuity of theme, tone, cinematography, soundtrack, to see if it felt like the same movie. And so it did, but we will get there. And so released in 2026, rated R. It's a horror movie. I would also put it in sci-fi. Again, there's less, I would say we don't have like the cut scenes that we did in the first movie in this one. And so a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. Not sure if I would put fantasy, but it's the same tone as the 28 Years Later, the previous movie. And so Google says, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is a 2026 horror film directed by Nia DaCosta. The other one was directed by Danny Boyle. That continues the 28 Days Later saga, focusing on the inhumanity of survivors as much as the infected. The plot follows Spike as he joins a violent cult led by Jimmy Crystal, while Dr. Kelson makes a world-altering discovery, all set in a world featuring a literal temple built from human bones. It's a sequel to 28 Years Later and is available on streaming services like Netflix. And so, again, new director. Overall, I thought the tone carryover was good. Just the overall presentation of the movie. I did not realize it was a different director, or I could not have told from the presentation. It received a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and I think a 3.8 on Letterboxd. So overall, in comparison to 28 Years Later, I thought the scene selection drug on a little too long in this one in comparison to the first one. And additionally, the overall plot development I thought was a little stale and a little It stalled a little bit. Kind of like in the middle, like I'd say right around an hour mark, just the Jimmy Crystal cult. We didn't get great direction as to like what his role is or what's going on in terms of the overall movement of the plot until I thought about halfway. The ending was pretty good. The beginning was pretty decent. A little less enjoyable, or I don't say enjoyable, but I like the first one, or 28 Years Later, a little bit better than this one. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one just a flat B, right in the entertaining range. The previous one we gave an A-. And so if you've not seen the movie and would like to, there will be spoilers going on from here on out. And so we open up, Spike is introduced to this cult. That's where the other movie ended. He gets accepted into this group, and the first kind of scenes are he has to fight for his life amongst this little cult of group of people. And so kind of trite, kind of cliche, again, we're in this post-apocalyptic environment. All of our characters, or this cult that Spike is introduced to, they're all very whimsical, and it's almost like Suicide Squad or just dressing up in bunny suits. All of the people of the cult are named Jimmy. And the head guy is Jimmy something, Jimmy Crystal, and he just portrays himself as the devil or the son of the devil. And so Spike is introduced to them. He's kind of like saved by them at the end of the last movie, and now he has to fight for his life. Some older guy, Spike is about 12 to 13 years old, and he ends up almost dying, or like he's about to get killed, and then he like stabs the guy in the leg, and he ends up dying. And so A little more emphasis on gore in this one than the previous one. Not like off-putting, but it seemed like there was a little bit more. And so Spike joins this cult, and he becomes named Jimmy like everybody else. And so you're kind of three big groups. Well, I guess two really big groups. It's just that cult, and then this Dr. Kelson, who helped or kind of euthanized Spike's mother in the first movie. What he's doing throughout the movie, he gets your first introduction. He helps Samson. So this infected, the big guy with the big appendage. You have some more scenes on this train where Spike's mom had delivered this baby in the previous movie. That train has some more, more scenes with that inside or with that in it. And so Dr. Kelson helps Samson. He gets shot with some arrows. He tranquilizes him. He bandages up his wounds, and he forms a relationship with him throughout the movie. And so basically he just shoots him with a morphine dart to like tranquilize him, and so he's kind of dazed. But hey, Dr. Kelson's looking to say this person's infected. Is there still some humanity within him? And so that's what's going on. You have a good amount of scenes where, like I said, it drug on a little bit with that. Like once you establish the relationship, I thought the scene selection was a little redundant. But regardless, Dr. Kelson forms this relationship with Samson after helping him with arrows, and that's kind of one big plot development along with this cult run by Jimmy Crystal. And so they're killing some after Spike gets introduced into the group. They're kind of like roaming around. They come across you get introduced to this group of three people that are kind of in the woods. They see this infected guy with his like leg kind of cut off and like walking around with a leg just like his ankle just dismembered. And one guy, this three groups decides to like attack that infected guy. A bunch more infected come, kill the non-infected guy, and this guy and this girl run back to their home little base. So there's another group with a little enclave, and when they get back there, Jimmy Crystal and his crew, they've made themselves at home in their house. And they're kind of like having dinner, having tea. You know, it's this very whimsical, kind of like the Purge characterizations, where we're super violent criminals and gonna kill people, but we're dancing around to kids' music and having bunny suits on. Kind of that type of characterization. And so they kind of torment this family for a little bit. There's a fight. One of the girls like runs away. A couple of them get killed, and then the rest of them get like strung up in this barn area. And Jimmy Crystal, to his followers, is like, hey, we need to take their shirts off. So they start skinning them. Again, the gore itself is presented, again, realistic setting characters, but the gore is not like presented as it's supposed to be like making you cringe, or it felt like, again, a director's choice as to it's gore, but it's like not like super serious almost. And so regardless, Spike is not, he can't stomach that, and he goes outside and throws up. One of the girls from the cult comes back and is like, hey, you stick with me. And so one of the girls that's, part of the group getting tortured, she escapes. The rest of them get killed. One of the people torturing that group, this chick is hiding up in the barn. She like throws down like a big meat hook and like hits the back of the head of one of the Jimmies from the cult. The last person of the group they're torturing to death, they kind of like give him the choice or like the chance if he fights somebody in this group like Spike had to do when he joined the cult, his life will be spared and he will join the cult. Regardless, I don't think that guy doesn't get anywhere. The chick throws down this big hook, kills the Jimmy that's a female, and there's some chaos. And so Spike and this other girl are outside the barn, and they hear all of the screaming. They're like, hey, is this normal? And they see that there's something has happened, and Spike is tasked with tracking down this girl who's about to escape. They get to this like barrier of this group's little enclave that Jimmy and his cult has come in and tortured, and Spike's like, hey, take me with you, take me with you. The chick like brings him in, punches him in the stomach, and then runs away. And so Spike is kind of left back. He gets stuck with this girl that's kind of part of the Jimmy clan that kind of accepted him, and they kind of pair up. And so regardless, that kind of resolves whatever. That scene just kind of drug on to me. These three people with this other enclave doesn't seem to be a big part of the main characters. That's kind of like why I have it in the B range, or a noticeable step down from the other ones. Regardless, then we kind of get like how these two groups are going to join up. Dr. Kelson and Samson, and then Jimmy, his crew, and Spike. And so Jimmy's been talking to his followers as he's the son of Satan, and then one of the crew members goes out and sees Dr. Kelson's big bone towers, hence the bone temple. And it's like, hey guys, I found Satan. And so Jimmy goes down there, the head guy, and he's like talking with Dr. Kelson, and he's like, wow, man, you're Satan, dude. So you're going to do what I say, right? Or I'm going to force feed your intestines to you. One of those things like, hey, you're gonna put on this show because my followers think you're the devil, but if you don't do what I say, I'm just going to kill you. And so that's kind of how these two groups meet up. Again, throughout this time, Dr. Kelson has formed a relationship with Samson, but he's running out of morphine. And so he goes to give Samson a euthanizing dose to kill him. But then right as he's doing that, Samson says moon. So this whole time, Dr. Kelson's been trying to see if this humanity of this infected guy is still in there. And so he speaks, and Dr. Kelson's like, I can't kill him. He kind of sends him off back into the wild. He goes back to this train setting, and all of the other infected people start attacking him. And so I'm not exactly sure what happens to Samson, but I think that's kind of like the last that I at least remember, and I can't recall if we get resolution to his character. Regardless, Jimmy and his clan are going to go down to Dr. Kelson's bone temple, and validate that Jimmy Crystal is the son of Satan because they're Satan, right? And so Dr. Kelson is played by Ralph Fiennes. I don't know how to say his name, but the actor looked familiar for sure. And so Jimmy and his crew come down. They're doing this ritual, and at the end, basically the Dr. Kelson's like, yeah, I'm not actually Satan or whatever, and Jimmy's like, this isn't what you agreed to. And then the chick and Spike kind of turn against Jimmy, and basically Dr. Kelson gets mortally injured. He's like, I'm okay. And the chick that's with Jimmy, kind of taking her under his wing from Jimmy's clan that turned on him, is like, hey, I can do one more thing for you. And then he, crucifies Jimmy upside down on this big bone temple. And so that's kind of like the big resolution, is this cult leader, which again, I just didn't think it was very directed. It was just like, we reviewed 28 weeks later, but I don't remember it that well. 28 years later, the movie we just reviewed recently, it wasn't like any breakthrough novel plot, but I just thought it moved through pretty well. This one had the same tone, same feel, same kind of strong backing track. I like the horror, but it's kind of realistic, but not super serious with the gore. That whole theme worked for me. I just thought the overall plot progression of what are we doing? Didn't really pick up, and I thought it was stronger in 28 years later. But regardless, the chick and Spike, Dr. Kelson now dies kind of at his moratorium thing, and they go back out into this infected world, and there is another movie coming up, and Cillian Murphy makes a late stage appearance. He has a daughter, and he's kind of homeschooling her, getting her ready for her test, and they hear some commotion outside. They're up on this high hill, and they can see Spike and this female running around, hey, what do we do? And so that's where the movie resolves. The movie ends is Cillian Murphy, this super minor character, major name, I'm sure is going to be a major character in the next film, is yep, we're going to help them out. And so that is the resolution of the movie. Again, there was another one coming up. I watched this on Netflix, had good reviews. I thought this one was a little weaker, hence the B. Overall entertaining, just in comparison to the first one. Thought this one was a step down. And so that is what I have for 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.